This guy over here.
Come home, baby.
I want to hop on the Blaine train.
Come on,
Can I hop
baby.
on that thing? You want to bet buds this situation? Iowa State.
Let's go.
I'm taking Iowa State in a football game.
All right, everybody, welcome to Week 12. It has absolutely flown by. It always does this. It's kind of like Christmas. You wait all year for it to get here. Then all of a sudden, in a blink of an eye, you take 2 steps left and 1 step right, and it's gone. But as usual, we always deliver with great guest pickers, and we didn't disappoint this week. Unless your team played against him a lot in college, he probably left you disappointed. Former Georgia quarterback, catch him on ESPN, SiriusXM, the Volume Sports with our boy T Bizzle, also known as T Bob, who, yes, is from a different planet. We all know that. Our good friend, Aaron Murray. Aaron, what's up, dog?
Aaron?
What's up, fellas? Always good to be back on with you guys. Appreciate you working around my crazy-ass schedule and having some fun this morning.
Absolutely. For sure. Again, we know David's given us great practice on being flexible with kids.
the toddlers?
The children.
Yes. Yeah, man. 2 under 2, third on the way. Aaron, I feel you.
3 under 3, man. You're going to be like
Bless your
John
heart.
Wooden by the time this
Dude,
ends.
I've been married for 4 years.
David, Michigan caved.
They caved, man. They caved. Going to be without their head coach this week.
But, I think it was smart, though. Aaron, to me, I think you're look, you may not have committed the crime, all right? There's a lot of people get put in jail for not committing the crime that took a lesser sentence because it was the best deal offered to avoid what could come down if you open up that can of worms. Now, listen, I think Michigan did break the rules or stretch the rules a little bit, but everybody's stretching the rules. We've talked about this a bunch. Aaron, what do you think about the whole situation and then Michigan saying, all right, we played like 80% of the year without Jim Harbaugh. We'll let him go eat pancakes with a spoon somewhere else on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I think a lot of people, what I'm seeing is oh, they're admitting that they did wrong. Well, they did, and I think they know they did. They pushed the boundaries a little bit. There's enough evidence out there to show that they were going out there and getting the signals and going to stadiums. All that doesn't mean that Jim Harbaugh knew about it, that he was part of the entire scheme. But just like the Big Ten said, he is the representative for Michigan. So when Michigan gets punished, it's going to go to Jim Harbaugh. So this isn't to me Jim Harbaugh saying, I'm going to take the punishment. I'm going to take the 3 games. I'm to blame here. No, it's just to me, it's this is a distraction. Our team is good enough to win out. Let me just take, as you alluded to, this small 3-game punishment. We're going to win this week versus Maryland. We're probably going to win versus Ohio State next week. And let's just put this behind us. Let's just put it behind us. And then I'll be back for the Big Ten championship. We'll kick some butt there, and then we'll be off to the races for the playoffs. So this is not, to me, once again, Jim Harbaugh admitting he was a part of it. This is him just saying, I'm just gonna take it and move on. And I think it was the right move. I think they're significantly better than Ohio State. I think they're a more complete team. I don't trust Ohio State's offense.
So hard to win.
I don't think Harbaugh would make a difference that much in that football game.
Well, I'm with you, and I know we'll talk about this during the Michigan-Ohio State week, because again, Harbaugh doesn't call the plays on offense or defense, but there's always input. If you've ever been on a headset, the head coach will chime in, or the offense coordinator, coach, what do you like here? A lot of it with Jim Harbaugh is situational stuff. What do we do in this situation? Do we kick the field goal? Do we go for it? Do we punt it? Do we go for it? Do we use this timeout and try and score before halftime? A lot of it is the situational stuff. But we always talk about practice makes perfect. If any team is prepared for their head coach not to be there during their rivalry game, it is Michigan. Unless I'm mistaken, they played more games without Jim Harbaugh than they have with. It's about even.
It'll be 50% at the end. It'll be 50%.
It doesn't help you.
Without an official notice of wrongdoing from the NCAA.
It'll be 7. It'll be 7. It'll be 7 games to. Yeah, it'll be 6. It'll be 6 and 5 after this week.
Well, he missed 3 at the beginning, and he will miss 3.
4 at the beginning.
No, remember, that's what they proposed, but then he ended up sitting out 3, and he came back for the 4th game. But either way, look, it's hard to beat the Buckeyes in any year. Keep in mind, we lost to them 8 straight years before these previous 2 wins. Now you take your head coach off the sidelines. They're ranked number 2 for a reason. I agree, for the first time I'm watching this and thinking Michigan's actually better than them, but this changes everything to me. And the last 2 things is, I would have accepted what you guys are saying a week ago, but Michigan promised us a fight. all the way up to the administration level. They said, we're going to fight what we perceive as an injustice, #bet, and then they caved on this. Maybe you're right that it ends up being the right decision, but I'll tell you what, something that's more interesting about this now, with signing with agreeing to this deal or whatever it was in the back room, now you've opened up the possibility that the college football playoff could come in and say, well, was there actually any wrongdoing now that's being admitted and possibly keep Michigan out of the college football playoff? Whereas before the previous 2 weeks, they've said, well, no, this is an NCAA issue and we'll leave it to the Big Ten and we're going to stay out of it. I just wonder if that changes now.
No, I don't think the committee cares. I think the committee just wants to put the 4 best teams in. This is, you take your punishment, you move on, and if they're undefeated, they're going to be in when it's all said and done. Going back to like the next 2 games, to me, this makes Michigan, I think, even scarier because you hear it all the time. Player-driven football teams. You know, you saw the guys that came back last year from Michigan, and you see how old and developed this football team is. Like this team was built for this season to win a championship this year, and now you've kind of given them the ammunition of it's us against the world. Everyone thinks we're the bad boys. Everyone hates us. Well, guess what? Screw everyone else. We're in this bunker. We're in this bunker together, and we're going to find a way to fight. I think you're going to find out how nasty and determined and how player-led this football team is these next 2 weeks without Jim Harbaugh. I think that's a scarier football team, which gives me even more confidence they'll take care of business these next 2 weeks.
I hope you're right.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it was different when we were fighting against something saying that we didn't do anything wrong, right? When you're fighting that, when you're in that bunker, yeah, that's fine. But now you've admitted to doing something wrong. So that was us against the world mentality. I don't know if that's a real thing
But
anymore.
did you admit
you took the suspension.
They knew they did something
plea.
wrong. They knew everyone knew they did something wrong. It was just like
I don't think that, because we sat here a second ago, we don't know if they broke the rules or stretched the rules. That's a huge difference if someone breaking rules and it's huge.
You
if
truly
you stretch
believe
a rule,
that the kids on that team did not believe that they were going and he was out there buying tickets to other games, filming the signals, and then being able to use that for their advantage going forward. I think everyone believed that. There was enough evidence to
again, your point is that gray area in the rules. Like, can you not pay someone to go to games and film the games? Like, I don't know if that fits in the bylaw. Or is this guy the one who's at the Central Michigan game? Like that, how do we still not have confirmation of that?
Look. Here's the thing. Yeah, you can pay someone to film games. Everybody has someone they pay to film games. It's called the video coordinator. If I want to steal your signal, there's literally a job where you get paid to go film games. Now, I understand you're filming the wide and the tight. If I want your signals, I can look at that wide film. I can marry it up. If I can find out what you do on 3rd and 6 and less when you're in 12 personnel, you're in a deuce formation, the ball's on the left hash, I can figure out what the hell your signals are in certain games by the wide film. Here's the problem. Best example I can give. You're going 60 and a 55. Everybody else is going 60 and a 55, but you happen to be the car that the police pull over. They pull you over. They say you're speeding. You say, well, I was going at the flow of traffic. Well, by rule, the speed limit was 55. If you're going over that, it is a problem. You can either take the warning now, or you can go fight me in court and I can prove that you were going over 55 miles per hour. You can waste the court's time, piss everybody off, and open yourself up for more problems. Or you can take this warning, I'll take my ass and go sit it back in the police car. You can continue to drive on and do what you do and understand, don't do it again, even though everybody was going 60 miles per hour. To me, that's it. If the end result is that I get your signals, if that's what the problem is that was broken, 85% of teams know signals. Aaron, you played quarterback at the highest level in college football. You knew that other teams probably had y'all signals and you had to mix them up. Sometimes you probably didn't care because y'all knew y'all were better than the other team anyway. So I feel like this is at some point we have to sit here and stop acting like Michigan just went out and tore up a city like Grand Theft Auto. They had signals. They were doing it in a very intricate and elaborate way. Take your time, Jim Harbaugh. Take the lesser penalty. Get to the playoff and win. That's my whole
I'll say this. And about the us against the world kind of mentality, good comparison here. If Kirby Smart can convince his football team that they're a 7-5 football team and everyone thinks they're a 7-5 football team, Jim Harbaugh can convince his football team that everyone's against him and it's us against the world.
Without a doubt.
Way
And they ain't
easier
even won
to
it.
Yeah.
And they ain't even won it yet.
No doubt. What you got, man?
Well, no, I somewhat agree with that, but I feel like the convincing was when Jim Harbaugh came out and said, we're going to go fight this. We didn't do anything wrong.
There's
Now,
still ways for coaches to tell their players, like, hey, this
Yes.
isn't us admitting that we're guilty. This is like, look, he can still say
Eliminating
they're
the
out to get
distraction.
us.
Yeah.
They're out to get us. This is still a witch hunt. But you know what? I'm going to step away for
I don't know.
not be
You
a
took it lying
distraction.
down. You took it lying down.
You heard me
So,
yesterday. Like,
I mean, if
agree
you're going to
with what
fight,
you
then
said.
if you say you're going to go fight something, then you go fight
You
something.
know where I stand on that.
Well, it's amazing. No kid gets mad at their mobster dad when he comes home with new Christmas presents, regardless of how he got them. Aaron, here's the way we've talked about the Michigan situation. That's something that'll keep going. I want to ask you a question as a guy that played the quarterback position. Before we get in these pick'ems, how do you view the Heisman? Do you view the Heisman as an award that should go to the best player in college football or the most valuable player to his team, right, in college football that happens to be the best player? Or does it go to the best player on one of the best teams that has a couple huge moments in clutch situations? Obviously, this is the Jaden Daniels versus basically everybody else argument. Because right now, the way I look at it is I think it's a formula. I think it is obviously statistics that you marry with being a championship contender, which you marry with having big moments in Heisman situations. But if I'm a defensive coordinator, the last quarterback that I want to play against is not Michael Penix. It's not Jalen Milroe. It is Jaden Daniels, without a doubt. I want nothing to do. I can't escape that guy.
Well, I think there's also a category too that people are putting in there of where you're projected into the NFL draft. And I put Marvin Harrison Jr. into that conversation. Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably going to be the first receiver taken off the board. Is he a great receiver? Is he the best receiver in college football right now? Yeah, he is. But he's not going to, he hasn't put up the numbers to warrant a Heisman-like season. Yeah, he may have a couple Heisman moments. And yeah, if Michigan loses to Ohio State, it's probably because he's going to have a big game. But doesn't mean that he's had a season in which he deserves the Heisman Trophy winner. If we're giving it to just the best football player in America, the guy that's projected to be the highest pick in the NFL draft, then Caleb Williams would probably win it again. Yeah. But that's not the award. It doesn't go to the best guy at certain position groups. It goes to, in my mind, the guy who has demonstrated over a 12-game season has played the best football, the most consistent football. And Jaden Daniels has been that guy. No matter win, loss, whatever it is, he has been an absolute nightmare throwing the football, running the football. There hasn't been a bad day. Even versus Florida State was a great football day for him. You look at the stats. So I think Bo's been, to me, probably the second most consistent. He's going to have a couple more Heisman moments. I think he could do it. Penix has had a couple bad games, iffy games, where he's kind of fallen out in my mind.
Nobody talks
Marvin
about
Harrison
that.
Jr. has been non-existent. Jaden has been, for 12 games, the best player in college football. So that's the award. So I just think there's all these categories that people want to put the award in, and that's just not, in my mind, what it was designed for at the end of the day.
Yeah.
A couple things. Jaden Daniels in the Florida State game threw for 350 yards.
Yep.
All right, and ran for 70 yards, had one touchdown, one interception.
They couldn't score in the red zone.
They couldn't score in the red zone. The definition of the Heisman Trophy is awarded annually to the most outstanding player in college football. Winners emphasize great ability combined with diligence, perseverance, and hard work. Jaden Daniels is the epiphany of that definition this year.
Like, I feel like that definition sucks, though.
Well, I feel like it doesn't matter what you feel about it. That's the definition of the Heisman.
I don't feel like the people who vote on the Heisman are like, hold on, let me read the definition. Like, diligence. Well, he is really diligent. Like, I think it changes almost every year, right? To me, it changes almost every year. Like, the definition is like, depends on the circumstance towards the end of the year. It's almost a little bit like the playoff committee. Like, there's no concrete rules. They tell us there's these concrete. They say you got to be diligent and embrace, friendship and good Samaritanship, and also, be unbelievable on the football field. But at the end of the day, how can you sit here and, if you're the playoff committee, tell me that resume matters, right? And then have Ohio State 1 and Florida State 4, like when it comes out. Like, I just feel like it fluctuates.
Well, he certainly can win it. We've seen. Go ahead, Aaron.
Well, speaking of the playoffs too, this is something that we saw last year as well, and this kind of marries into this whole Heisman conversation of Nick Saban coming out and saying, well, if Vegas odds was putting odds on these games, Alabama would be favored to win. The same thing we talked about with Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, if you're going to pick on just truly who's going to be the most the projected top pick in the NFL draft or picks in the NFL draft, him and Caleb would be there. Like, that's not the conversation of having to play a 12-game season to earn an award or playing a 12-game season to play in the playoffs. Yeah, Nick, your team may be projected by Vegas odds to win versus 3 of those teams that were in the playoffs last year. But guess what? You were 10-2. You didn't get the job done for those 12 weeks. Yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. may be the most gifted player in America. Yeah, Brock Bowers may be the most gifted player in America. Yeah, Caleb Williams may be the most gifted player in America. But guess what? They didn't do it for 12 weeks. Brock was out. Marvin's been kind of on and off because of his quarterback. Caleb Williams has not had the year he had last year. So I don't care what Vegas says for either thing. You have to play the football games. You have to perform in the football games to win those awards to get into the playoffs. I think it's the same thing of it drives me crazy.
And Alabama was favored in both those games they lost.
Well, Alabama would be favored over Texas if they played them on a neutral site right now, but you lost to them earlier in the year at home. So
we've seen some of the best quarterbacks in college football history win the Heisman Trophy with 3 losses. You know, Tim Tebow is one of those guys, Lamar Jackson was one of those guys. So it certainly can happen, and these are the championship rounds, these next 2 weeks. Now, he will not have the luxury of competing in the conference championship like some of these other guys will. You want me to go ahead and get to some of these games?
Yeah, let's get to some of these games. I want to see what Aaron's got cooking.
Speaking about Michael Penix Jr., let's talk about Washington going on the road to Oregon State. Aaron, they're a dog in this game, but Jake, you start us off with your pick.
Look, it's fantastic. Oregon State could cause a lot of problems. They could ruin. You want to talk about really pissing off people, the Pac-12. Win these last 2 games if you're Oregon State. You're going to piss off a lot of people in high places in the quote-unquote Pac-12 as it slowly dissolves. Here's how I see this game going. I don't think Washington's defense is USC bad. I don't think Washington's defense is LSU bad. I do not think they're an above-average defense, though. I think they are an average defense. I think Oregon State's going to be able to move the ball. I think Oregon State's going to be able to score points in this game. Biggest 2 questions I have is the pace at which Jonathan Smith's going to play in this game to try and keep Washington's offense off the field. If they're able to run the ball like I think they will with that offensive line, they'll be able to limit Penix the amount of times he's able. They're going to have to make him be close to perfect, right? Which he can be. Then on the other side, I think Oregon State's defense, including myself, was a little bit overrated by people coming into the year, right? In big games, they've given up a lot of points. This Washington offense has a ton of weapons. I actually think this game is going to be a shootout. It's going to come down to number of possessions that Washington gets. I just feel like even though they're the dogs, and the Huskies, but even though they're underdogs in the game, I feel like Washington finds a way to win it. I think it's a field goal or a last-second drive, kind of maybe similar to what we saw Oklahoma-Texas, the way Oklahoma finished that game at the end. I think Washington.
That's the way the Oregon game played out, too. Who are you taking there?
Man, it's hard for me not to lean Washington in this game. I think I'm going to go with them. First of all, kudos to DJU and the year he's had after left in Clemson. I mean, the kid's absolutely balling this year. I think one of the interesting facts we'll look at in this game is, who makes the big decisions on 4th down? All right. If you're the Oregon State head coach, if this does turn into a shootout, do you rather take 3 or do you rather take 7? You go back to the Oregon-Washington game and what Dan Lanning did. So that'll be interesting, kind of an inner facet in this game. I think Penix will be too much. I think the NFL receivers they have running around will be the difference in this game. But I do think Oregon State keeps it close. But I like Washington. I'd play it maybe last-minute field goal, something like that. I feel like Penix is too good.
Aaron, you going to take the Beavers?
I'm trying to check the weather right now. So Saturday, it is 99% rain. So it is going to rain the entire time.
It's good for Oregon State.
I think that is major advantage to Oregon State in this football game. You talk about time of possession. I'm gonna give a MAC game that I was just on the other night. I was calling the Northern Illinois, Western Michigan. Western Michigan spread offense, want to go up tempo, want to throw it all over the ballpark. Northern Illinois wants to just line up and pound the football. Northern Illinois in the first quarter had the ball for 13 and a half minutes.
Beautiful.
7-minute possession, 3 and out, and then like a 6-minute possession to end the first quarter. Like that's the recipe. It's raining, it's wet. Oregon, and like it was one of my most enjoyable games because it was under 3 hours. Like I never get to call a game under 3 hours. It was awesome. In and out of that thing, back in Chicago, getting ready for my flight. But that's what you do, man. You run the football, you eat up that clock, you huddle up, you snap the ball with 10 seconds to go, and you just have 6-7-minute possessions and the game just flies by. So like if it's raining, I think Oregon State wins the football game at home, the style in which they go, I think major advantage to them. If it was nice, I would pick Washington. Like I do still think Michael Penix Jr. against that secondary you alluded to, like Oregon State's a good defense. It's a good football team. But Michael Penix with those weapons would have a field day. So I'm going to lean Oregon State in this one just because I know it's going to be 99% chance of rain. It's going to be a little bit wet. If that pass game is hindered at all for Washington, Oregon State's good enough. DJU's had a good enough season. I love their running game. I love their offensive line. Oregon State is about to really, like you guys alluded to, shake things up in the Pac-12.
Well, I picked Washington to make the college football playoff in the preseason. So despite the fact they haven't looked the same since that win over Oregon, I'm going to stick with them. But we'll keep an eye on the weather for sure.
Can I say this too? Watching Michael Penix, his arm strength, the concepts, and the availability of the whole field for Washington. I'll be watching Washington, and they'll run a stop. Like they'll go wide splits like Art Briles. They'll run a stop under the numbers from the opposite hash. Michael Penix will just go through his reads and just throw the ball all the way across the field. Like a 40-yard throw, just a dart at a guy who ran a 5-yard stop. His arm strength's ridiculous.
It's crazy. And accuracy. All right, let's go to Texas here. They've won every game since that loss to Oklahoma, despite having to start Malik Murphy at times. Quinn Ewers has been back now. Running back's going to be out there when they're going on the road to Iowa State.
Alabama needs Texas to lose. In my opinion, I think that's their best chance, right? Outside of just total carnage or Florida State dropping one. I look at this Texas team. I watched Quinn last week. He didn't look healthy to me, throwing the ball. Looked like he was just trying to get the fastball over for a strike. Jonathan Brooks is obviously out. This Texas defense seems like they're regressing back to the mean a little bit. We've seen that with a couple teams. You look at Oklahoma as well, even though they were able to beat up on West Virginia last weekend. I know that Texas has lost 3 out of the last 4 to Iowa State, including the last 3 in Ames, something like that. And I love Iowa State plus 7.5. But I just feel like this Texas team, it's kind of like Tom Hanks in Castaway. It may not be pretty. You may not look good. It may not be fun or enjoyable, but you survive. You survive, and you get back to Helen Hunt, who all of a sudden just remarried.
She did.
Because she's tripping.
Wilson.
There's a big problem. Give me Texas by a field goal. I feel like they just barely survive. I want to pick Iowa State. I do, David. But some teams, they just survive.
Blaine?
You know, I go back to last week's game against TCU. Texas come out, looked good in the first half. Jonathan Brooks goes down, and they're a completely different team in the second half. And I like what you did, alluded to their defense. Their defense has not looked like the same defense everybody hyped up this entire year. Iowa State's a very weird place to go play football. And ever since Matt Campbell got yelled at by that fan,
dude, you're right, dog.
It's been a different Iowa State football team. I think Iowa State wins this game. I think they keep it close. I think they have a big fourth quarter. Give me the Cyclones to pull it out. Big day for the boys. Come on, let's get it done.
Oh, Aaron?
I think Texas wins. I think Texas wins big. I got them actually laying those points to it. I think 7.5 right now. The recipe to beat Texas is throwing the football, and I like that Rocco kid who's the quarterback for Iowa State. He's a little gunslinger, man, and he'll take some chances. Has a little unique delivery too, but that pass game is not good enough to scare me if I'm Texas or a Texas fan. Like, this isn't the game. You are more talented than them. They don't have the offense that worries me. If this is a spread offense with a really good quarterback and some good receivers, similar to like in Oklahoma, then like that's the type of game that Texas could falter and lose. But if you're a team that is more of a run football team that doesn't have the elite passer, Texas is going to gobble you up. I still trust that front seven for Texas. I'm a little bit worried about the secondary, is kind of everything I'm talking about right now. And then Texas and those weapons. You know, you look at Iowa State, the only time they face like a legit team that can throw the football this year was Oklahoma. And they ran up and down the field on them. So Quinn got the rust knocked off last week. I expect him to kind of understand that, like, hey, man, this is my team now. I don't got Brooks to rely on. I'm going to have to take my game to another level along with those receivers. I think Texas comes out there, has a monster day throwing the football. And like I said, I just don't think Iowa State has the offense that really scares me if I'm a Texas fan right now.
Man, I was ready to take Texas. I didn't think they'd lose again until the conference championship, but this guy over here.
Come home, baby.
I want to hop on the Blaine train.
Come on,
Can I
baby.
hop on that thing? You want to bet buds this situation? Iowa State.
Let's go.
I'm taking Iowa State in a football game.
Well, Iowa State doesn't have that cat like they normally have. Like, they had Hutchinson last year. They typically got like a guy.
Higgins isn't a bad player. They're receiving.
Yeah, but like they don't have that. You're like, wow. It's like when I watch Indiana.
I'm hopping on the Blaine.
Well, you look at 45-13 against BYU. I mean, BYU won 35-6. TCU,
boys.
TCU 27-14 for Iowa State. Texas just won by 3. So we'll see.
We'll see.
right.
BYU's awful.
Hopping on with you, you brought me over. Let's talk about Louisville. One loss right here in the ACC conversation. They're going to go on the road and play Miami. Sort of a weird year for Miami. We talked about not kneeing the ball out against Georgia Tech, and they've lost some games down the stretch here, but put up a good showing against rival Florida State last week with a freshman quarterback in Doak Campbell.
Yeah, but you lost. I just think emotionally, where's this Miami team at? I mean, your last big effort, right? Or no offense to Louisville, but Miami's not going to get up for Louisville like they did against Florida State. That's a season saver. That's a season ruiner for Florida State. I think they're down. I think they're trying to get through practice. Louisville, they're in places they haven't been, right? They're going to see. They went to the Louvre, right? They saw the Mona Lisa. They're out just in uncharted territory in Brahms' first year, right? So not only are they places they've never been, they're kids walking around. They don't know where this winds up. They're having a great time. They're focused. It goes back to what Blaine said. I think the key to this game, because I think Miami's defense got NFL players running all around it. Van Dyke's all over the place right now. He's turning the ball over a ton. Can he get hot? Yeah. But which plumber are we going to get? Are we going to get the plumber that shows up? He's an hour and a half in there. Hey, it's fixed. Make sure you watch for this, watch for that. Or you get the plumber that shows up, says he forgot a screw from Home Depot, then you don't see him for a month and a half. That's what I think it comes down to. Jack Plummer making good decisions. Be the good plumber, not the bad plumber. If that happens, Louisville wins the game.
Which plumber are they going to get, Blaine?
That's the question. But I know about the other plumber that's on the other side, and that's Tyler Van Dyke, and it's a real crappy situation. I mean, it's like trusting a fart after eating at CC's, buddy. You just can't do it. You can't do it. I think
CC's reference?
CC's.
Dude, I will take no CC's slander.
No, it's phenomenal, but I mean, ask the toilet how it is after that. It's not great. I don't think Van Dyke's the difference. The difference with this Louisville team is they're not a finesse football team, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to come in here and, sell you a pyramid scheme. They're not going to do that. They're going to come in here and give you a base salary and tell you exactly what you need to do, all right? They want to run the football. I think Jamari Thrash is an NFL kid at receiver, which they're going to need. But Plummer has to be Plummer. He actually has to come in, be settled, make the right reads, which I think they do. This game opened at -2 Louisville.
Yeah.
It's sitting at +1 Louisville right now. Give me Louisville.
Aaron, you a CC's fan?
Yeah, I'm a fan of Louisville this year. I'll tell you that. I'll take Louisville in this one. I'm really honestly pissed at myself because I kind of all off season, whenever I talked about Miami, I kept bringing up like I don't think Van Dyke is a good quarterback. I just didn't. And they started winning beginning of the season. He looked good. So I was like, all right, well, maybe it was the OC last year. Maybe that was the problem. And I kind of somewhat jumped onto the bandwagon of like, I actually on one of our shows apologized to him for kind of being on him so hard all last season that he wasn't a good quarterback. And then he's reverted back to the ways that I
Did you take back the apology?
Yeah.
Did you take it back?
No, I need to take back the apology.
You need to take it back.
Do it here, officially.
Yeah.
I was right. That's why you always trust your first instinct, boys.
Sure.
I knew he wasn't a good quarterback. I got soft in my old age. I apologized, and then he tricked me, and now he's playing like he has. I just don't trust him. I don't trust the offense. I don't trust Mario. Louisville wins this football game.
Go to the Conor McGregor technique. That's what I always do when it comes to apologize.
Conor McGregor with
I would like to apologize.
Yeah.
For absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Same thing with me. I didn't put Tyler Van Dyke in my top 10 a season ago, and Miami fans were reaching out to me.
I didn't
Are you
either.
crazy? Are you out of your mind? I'm like, I don't think so, but maybe. I'm going to take Louisville as well. A lot for the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, they're playing.
Defense and run game. Who'd have thought it?
I know. Two more here. Utah at Arizona. Both teams 7-3.
I tell you what, Jed Fish, one of the most underrated coaches in the country. A guy that kind of came out of left field and has figured it out. Utah without Cam Rising, we know who they are. We know who they are when Bryson Barnes is in there. We know who they are when Nate Johnson is in there. Bryson does give him a better chance to throw it. But I'll go back to what I've said all week. We always talk about, this team's playing better than what they really are. Well, at this point in the season, maybe Arizona's just pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're just a good football team. And really, they should have beat Mississippi State on the road and Washington, if we're going to be honest. This team could easily be 9-1. But if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas, which I hope you guys all do. But I think at this point, Arizona is not hoping to win anymore. I think they're expecting to win. I think that's been the best thing that Jed Fish has done at Arizona is it doesn't matter if it's Jaden DeLora. It doesn't matter if it's Fafita. When we go into a game, we are going to win it, not just have a chance to win it. It's not just about hope. It's about confidence and borderline arrogance. And it seems that Arizona, whether it's been in a high-scoring game whether it's been in a low-scoring game, whether it's been in a game that's gone back and forth, has found a way to win the game. I think Utah without Cam Rising is just trying to get through the year. That's not a shot at Kyle Whittingham, but at this point, you're not really playing for anything. You know that Cam Rising is coming back. I think they're kind of looking toward the future. Arizona's embracing the now. I think Arizona finds a way. I don't know how. I don't know if it's going to be because they just outscore them and it's a shootout, which I wouldn't think with Utah, or if it's going to be a 6-3 game. But Arizona boys, they just know how to win.
But great teams know how to do what, and that's win in multiple
Cover.
ways and cover as well. Both those teams are kind of corresponding. But I like Arizona's game. I think Fifita comes out. Plays well, throws the ball around. Still don't believe in the Barnes kid at Utah. You just have a limited quarterback when he gets there. You're going to run the ball a lot. But give me Arizona. This game is at Arizona. I think they pull it out.
Aaron?
Yeah, I got Arizona too in this football. They're playing great. I mean, you mentioned some of the losses. You barely lose to Washington. You lose there by 2 points to USC. You've been on just an absolute tear in the Pac-12. This is a team that, 4-game winning streak, could be 6-game winning streak against 4 ranked opponents. They're playing great football. I think Jake said it the best. Like, we have to recognize that take away the brand. This is a really good football team that's playing well on both sides of the football. And Utah, that offense, you never know what you're going to get. I wish Cam Rising was playing this season. But we get him back next year. So we get him back next year for Utah. Just love seeing that team the past 2 seasons. They just don't have it this year. They don't have that swagger. Like Cam, like I was actually calling the game 2 years ago when he came in for San Diego State and took over, drove them down and won the football game, and then became the starting quarterback going forward. And I could feel the energy in the stadium that day. It was actually they're playing in LA, and you could just see the difference. And he took over, and the team just rallied around him. His energy, his leadership, like I said, that swagger. And they just don't have that this year. They don't have that confidence. So I like Arizona in the football game.
Well, I thought I'd be the only one, but I'm going to take Arizona as well. 4 straight wins for them. The back-to-back dog picks, I think, for me in our locks, leans, and dog segment, beat three straight ranked wins.
Doesn't Cam Rising look like he definitely was fat as a kid? Like, just
so?
with the way he's shaped. You know,
he's Gardner Minshew
he was fat as a
2.0,
kid.
That's who he is.
Like, I just know that Cam Rising was fat as a kid.
I'm not
100%. Sure. I guarantee it. I've never seen a picture of him as a kid.
Cam Rising looks like he's taking some beer out of some garages.
We'll get our fact check.
Oh, for sure.
100%.
Probably as a fat kid.
Yeah, it's tough to do. That's even more impressive.
Last one.
And kick. Ask Missouri.
Last one here. Georgia, other than the Vanderbilt game, which I'm not really counting, we've only seen the Bulldogs go on the road to Jordan-Hare against Auburn. That game ended up being tight. Carson Beck had to throw him to a win with Brock Bowers freaking out in the second half. They're going to go on the road to Neyland, play Tennessee. How you got this one going?
Well, look, everybody looks at Georgia, the juggernaut. Oh, they're going to go in there and handle business. Oh, look at all the weapons they have. Brock Bowers is back. I know Ladd's been beat up. They're getting healthier up front. Defensively, they're not what they were the past 2 years, but they're still really good. Everybody's going to be telling Georgia this, and that's all we're going to hear. And you want to know why?
Yep.
Because it's true. Because it's true. That G on that helmet stands for gravity. This team is developing while winning, right? You didn't have to replace everything, but Carson Beck, right, a.k.a. Sid from Ice Age,
yes,
right? At the end of the day, he has embraced the role. He is making good decisions. He has all the time in the world to throw the ball. No, the Queen of England doesn't have better protection than what Carson Beck has in the pocket. They're able to run the ball now even more effectively because more backs are coming back. You've got versatility everywhere. Dominic Lovett and Ra Thomas are starting to figure it out and just be good enough to be able to contribute and open it up for everybody else, which is already scary as hell. I see Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers line up on the same side, which at the same time gives me fear and hope. I don't know how that happens. But this Georgia defense, again, there's no Jalen Carter up front, right? But they're not running around with a bunch of guys that are going to be playing in the CFL. All right, this is a top-notch defense. Don't trust Joe Milton. He can't make the routine throws routine. I said it before the year when everybody was gassing this dude up because he hit a golf cart at the Manning Passing Academy from 80 yards away, yet his ass can't throw a slant against Missouri or enter any intermediate pass for about 2.5 quarters. So I think Georgia, it's inevitable. It is gravity. It is an infinity stone. The question is not, will Georgia win? It's, will they cover? And I think they will, because I think Georgia's not overrated and Joe Milton is.
It's right here.
Wow.
This Georgia-Tennessee. Georgia's going to have Tennessee in a headlock
right there?
the entire game.
Who's
the quarterback for Tennessee?
Joe Milton?
Georgia by 30. Georgia by 30. Easy money.
Aaron?
Easiest cover, lock of the week. Put a
The alma
stack
mater?
on it.
And everyone says like, oh, is this a look ahead game for Georgia? Are they looking ahead to Alabama? I tell you one thing, you don't look past going into a stadium that has 100,000 people. Like,
Yeah.
You're about to go into a hostile ass environment. You've been told that all week. A lot of these guys have played in Neyland. Like, the challenge you're going. I think there's a difference between looking ahead when you're at home and the comforts of sleeping in your own bed and the fans are there and you're going through the dog walk. There's a difference between that and then going to one of the most intimidating places in the country. So I think Georgia knows that. I think they're going to be locked in. They're going to be ready to go. And the health thing is the biggest thing to me. You look at Georgia through the season and I had their first game of the year. They didn't have their running backs. Edwards and Kendall were banged up. Offense line was banged up. You have a new OC, new coach. Then all of a sudden, running backs get back, but Ladd's still out. Offensive line starts getting banged up. And then all of a sudden Ladd comes back, but then you lose Brock, then you lose they have not been healthy as a unit. And most teams aren't. Like most teams are getting banged up, but it feels like Georgia's done the reverse this year. I feel like they were really banged up to start the season. They kind of went through those rough patches for the first 7-8 weeks. And then all of a sudden now they've kind of gone through all of that and they're healthy everywhere. Offensive line's healthy as they've been. Both running backs look really good. The receivers are healthy. Brock's healthy and Carson's playing at a really high level. So this is one of the best offenses in the country. They can protect, they can run, they can throw. Defensively, for me, Tennessee's going to have to create some explosive plays. Well, guess what? Tennessee hasn't done that all year.
Yeah.
Tennessee has not utilized Joe Milton's big arm to throw the football consistently down the field. They did have the nice shot to squirrel versus Alabama. So maybe if you can hit a couple of those and get off to a fast start. We know Georgia's defense kind of struggles at the beginning of football games. Could you make it interesting, and could you get the crowd behind you with some energy in the stadium to make it, a close game at a halftime? That's a possibility for sure. That's what you have to do. I'm with you guys. Like, I don't trust Joe to do that against Georgia's elite secondary. I mean, you're talking about Malachi Starks, Javon Bullard, Tyke Smith, Kamari Lassiter. That's been absolutely locked down the past 2 weeks. This is the best secondary in America. So, I think dogs roll. I think dogs roll big. I got like 35-17. They'll cover.
And watching them play Ole Miss, the only word that came to mind was unbeatable. It really did. Now, Tennessee put together a great first half against Alabama. The shot you were talking about, Joe Milton was on schedule. Everything looked good. You're going to have to do that plus a whole second half of it if you want to beat this team. But Tennessee fans have been begging me all season to stop picking them because it never works out anyway. So I'll go with the Bulldogs big, clean sweep.
Missouri 255 on the ground.
Yeah. Who's really put a strangle on this offense the best over the past 2 seasons? I mean, even Alabama last year, what'd they give up, like 50-something points? You look at Georgia the past 2 years, Kirby takes a hold of this offense. It doesn't let him do anything.
Well,
even with Hendon Hooker last year, like they just can't move the ball against this defense. Kirby has been the best at slow down Heupel.
Well, yeah, and I think a little bit of that is Georgia, in my opinion, the past 2 years has been the best defense running laterally and tackling in space. How do you stop what Josh Heupel? You guys know this, Aaron. You know this better than anybody. It's a math problem. What Tennessee is doing, they're running a math problem at full speed, and they make you tackle in space. That is the whole point, the whole shebang of it. And Georgia has NFL guys running around the field that can make those tackles in space. That's the difference, in my opinion. But Aaron, I tell you what, it's never different when you come on. It's always fantastic, my friend. Tell everybody where they can find your work. You guys do a great job. Love what you and T-Bob are doing as well. But tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, Aaron Murray 11 on pretty much all social handles. So appreciate the love and support. Like you guys said, I do a daily show with T-Bob on The Volume. We have a great time. T-Bob is a hell of a character that trying to reel him in a little bit. Actually, we have to have a talk a little bit later today about the use of the F word and kind of knocking that down a couple notches. But other than that, we're having a good time. Good luck with that one.
Definitely. Well,
and then obviously calling games on ESPN. I'll be on the Mississippi State call this weekend, so it's gonna be interesting to see what those cowbells sound like as they're trying to find a way to a bowl game.
I wouldn't be shocked if halfway through the third quarter, Aaron's calling the plays.
We see Aaron with the headset on the side.
Aaron's all of a sudden Aaron's the next head coach of Mississippi State.
It's
a Bulldog.
And I'm gonna have binoculars watching.
Technically,
hey boys, if I'm calling plays, I'm putting Mike right in because I'm making sure Will Rogers ain't touching my records. That's what I.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Man.
Now it all makes sense. Aaron, appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much.
See you, boys. Have a good weekend.
All right. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Got a great week of shows for you next week as we head into week 13. And don't forget, we got our Sunday recap coming up on Sunday to recap all the action, preview the NFL action as well. You guys are the best audience in the business. I appreciate it. Check you tomorrow.